Hello and welcome to 10-Man Normal Horridon, second boss of the Throne of Thunder. So Horridon isn't actually very diverse in his moves, but there are a whole bunch of adds that make this fight complicated. So first off, let's go through how to handle Horridon and what he does. Horridon has only 3 abilities: Triple Puncture, Double Swipe, and Charge. Triple Puncture is a stacking debuff that Horridon puts on the tank, and this means that tanks should swap after every door. So tank A starts off with Horridon, and tank B takes the adds. Then, after that door, tank A takes the adds, and tank B takes Horridon. Next up is Double Swipe. This is a frontal and backward cone attack, so avoid standing in front of or behind Horridon during this. Horridon will also use Charge, which makes him charge a random player. The person who is about to be charged should run toward either Horridon's head or his tail, because after a charge is usually a double swipe, and if you stand at his head or tail, he will double swipe in basically the same area, meaning your raid doesn't have to move around too much. Now you want to tank the boss near to, but a bit away from, the currently active add door. You want to be close enough so healers can heal you, and so that players can move to the front or back of Horridon for charge, but you don't want to be right on top of the adds, otherwise you make tanking the adds extremely difficult. We found this kind of distance works quite well. As a quick tip, you can remove stacks of Triple Puncture by using a Paddy's Bubble or Blessing of Protection. Just remember to click it off so you can go back to tanking again. Now let's go through all the adds and how to deal with what they do. First off, no matter what door is currently spawning adds, you will get one Zandalari Dinomancer a little bit after the door opens. The Dinomancer tries to heal Horridon with Dino Mending, which can and should be interrupted, but mainly he needs to be nuked down. At half health, he turns into a dinosaur, stops casting the heal, and drops an Orb of Control onto the ground. The orb can be clicked and used to make Horridon smash into the door, spawning adds so that adds will no longer spawn from the door. Seeing as only one door will be active at a time, this basically means you go into the next phase of the fight and get closer to killing Horridon. Each time you smash Horridon into the door, he gains a debuff called Cracked Shell, which will make him take more damage for the rest of the fight. This stacks, so by the end of the fight you'll be hitting Horridon extremely hard. Now, DPS should be focused completely on the adds, as DPSing Horridon is not very important at all while adds are up. In fact, if you deal too much damage to Horridon too soon, you will probably wipe the raid, but more on that in a bit. The first add spawning door is the Farakai door, which spawns Sul'Thuz Stone Gazers, Farakai Waste Walkers, and Farakai Skirmishers. The Stone Gazers cast Stone Gaze, which stuns a player for 10 seconds. You can interrupt this, and the stun can also be dispelled. The Waste Walkers put dots on players that should be dispelled called Blazing Sunlight, and they also put muck on the floor called Sand Traps, which you really want to avoid. They also grow over time, and the damage from them seems to be bigger than the animation, so watch out. The Skirmishers just melee attack their target. The DPS priority is simple: kill the Dinomancer as soon as it spawns, otherwise you kill the Stone Gazers, then the Waste Walkers, and then the Skirmishers, and last of all, Horridon. Then you use Horridon as an organic bulldozer and move on to the next door, which is the Gurubashi. Once this door has activated, you have the Gurubashi Bloodlord and the Gurubashi Venom Priests. The priests also summon adds called Venomous Effusions. The Bloodlords will sometimes charge random players and leave a dot on them, but the main worry is the priests and the effusions, which cast Venom Bolt Volley. This deals damage to the entire raid and puts a stacking dot, which can and should be dispelled. The cast of this move is also interruptible. There will also be clouds of poison that slowly move around, which you will want to avoid as they deal damage if you stand in them. The DPS priority is the Zandalari Dinomancer, then the Venomous Effusions, then the Priests, then the Bloodlords, and finally Horridon if you get bored. Then it's on to the next door, the Drakari. You get Risen Drakari Champions and Risen Drakari Warriors, which cannot be tanked and just run around the room hitting random people and putting a dot on them called Deadly Peg, which can and should be dispelled. The only other ad in this phase should be tanked and is called the Jakari Frozen Warlord. These guys hit the tank reasonably hard and sometimes reduce healing on the tank with Mortal Strike. They also summon big blue balls which move around the room and hurt you if you stand near them, so avoid them. The DPS priority here is the Zandalari Dinomancer, then the Frozen Warlords, and then the Risen ads. And of course, Horridon is the final outlet for your rage. The fourth and final door is the Amani door, which spawns Protectors, Flamecasters, Warbears, and Beast Shamans. The Protectors just melee attack the person with aggro, the Flamecasters cast Fireball, which can be interrupted. The Warbears have a cleave attack, so try not to stand in front of them unless you're the tank. But when a Warbear dies, the Shaman jumps off his back, and he's the most dangerous. He will put down lightning Nova Totems, which deal damage to you if you stand near them. They don't move, and you can't kill them either, so just avoid them. They also use Chain Lightning, which deals damage and then jumps to another target within 5 yards, dealing more damage to the next target, and so on. Best to spread out if possible for Chain Lightning so it doesn't hurt too much. The Beast Shaman will also use Hex of Confusion, which gives a player a debuff making half their attacks hit the player instead of the enemy. The priority here is the Dinomancer, then the Beast Shamans, then the Warbears, then the Protectors and Flamecasters, and finally, Horridon. Now, after the last door, you should clean up all the ads and then start nuking Horridon. It's usually best to tank Horridon somewhere in the middle of the room for this phase. Now, this is the part I talked about where you could wipe if you DPS'd Horridon too much earlier on, and that's because when Horridon reaches 30% health, or 40 seconds after you shut the last door, the War God Jalak will jump down. The tank that took Horridon during the last door should pick up the War God and tank him. DPS should then nuke down the War God and then swap to Horridon and kill him. You can nuke down Horridon a bit first if you can manage it, but remember that the War God will be doing quite a bit of AoE damage and will be doing more and more damage the longer he is alive. It can be helpful to get Horridon's health as low as possible before killing the War God though, as once the War God dies, Horridon enrages and hits 50% faster and 100% harder, so tanks should use a cooldown. Another tip is that you can disarm Jalak to make him do less damage if you have anyone in your group with a disarm move. It's usually best to use Bloodlust after the final door has been shut, as Horridon will be taking more damage. And that's it for Horridon. I hope you enjoyed this guide and found it helpful. And if you did, then please click that like button and post a comment, as it really helps me out. And of course, subscribe for more videos. Good luck, and have fun!